Hello, let's keep going with your part 2. And now we're going to practice with the following topics: the media, talking about a movie plot or a story or a book that you've read, talking about a piece of music, and I'll even show you an object or a thing. Let's begin. So remember, the examiner will show you a card and the instructions are on the card. The examiner will probably read it to you as well. Then you have 1 minute to prepare. The examiner will be quiet and you have to write some notes. So let me show you what to do, because then you have to talk for 1 to 2 minutes by yourself. So this is what the cards look like. Remember, we're going to talk about the media first. So talk for 1 to 2 minutes about a publication that you often read. You should mention its contents, its appearance, where it is available, and then finish with some opinion. What are the good and bad points of this publication? So how do you approach the card? It's always introducing the topic first, then there are 3 bullet points here, and then it always finishes with an explanation or giving reasons or opinion. So put the name of the newspaper or the magazine in the middle. Then move to its contents. Just write a little list. Then what's next? Its appearance, what it looks like. Be specific, imagine it. So I've said mine is a typical half-side newspaper, black and white, some colour pictures, but mostly black and white. What's next? Where you can buy this publication. So I've told the examiner it's free. I can buy it at local shops and even in some banks. Not buy it, sorry. I can pick it up. And finally, you have to finish with your explanation of good and bad points. So just write a few notes. Don't write sentences. You do not have time. So are you ready for the model answer? I don't really read newspapers or magazines anymore because of, everything's on the smartphone. So I'm going to talk about a news app called The Guardian. Maybe you've heard of it. It is an online newspaper, so the writing is done by reporters or journalists and editors, and they write about what is happening in the world. A lot of politics, but also entertainment, news and sports. One of the things I like the most is the picture galleries from around the world, or on special events like the supermoon the other night. Regarding what it looks like, remember, appearance. The app is very simple, clean, I think you say clean, because a lot of the content is serious. Of course, it's available through the App Store or Google for anyone, and it's free. Although you do have to put up with some ads on the free one. That brings me to the good and bad points of the Guardian app. Yes, it's free, but there are ads. It always asks you for money. That's a disadvantage. The most important good point is that the writing is trusting. I'm not sure of that word. You can trust the writer because the reporters are all qualified and they try to cover all sides of a story. Even though I like it and I get my news from there, I'd like to try another news app just to see if it's better. Now, on the previous page, I showed you a model for how to approach the card, and then in my model, I decided to show you a different one, which was a publication online. And did you notice how this model moves from topic to topic? I explained what it looks like. Regarding what it looks like, when I move to the last point, that brings me to the good and bad points. So at least twice, try to use a good linking technique to move on. And there are the linking points which you can pause and look at. So, the next topic that I said we would practice is talking about a movie, a book maybe. Describe a story about space that you have read about or seen in a film or on TV. You should say when you read or you saw the story, what happened in the story, whether the story has any significance today, and explain how you felt about the story. Now notice for this one, watch here at the hints, you need a mix of verb tenses. And it's a strange thing in English, when we describe a story from a book or a movie, we usually use present tense because we want our listener to feel as if we are still in the story. So that's a little strange thing to be careful of. I'd like to tell you, before I start, read with me, speak aloud, try to match my stress. Here we go. I'd like to tell you about Star Wars Episode 4. You know, the original film. I first saw this movie when I was about 10 years old. By this time, it had already been digitally remastered. Anyway, I think it was first shown in the 1970s. I'm not entirely sure which year. Anyway, the story is about how good and evil are against each other, and the universe needs a new hero to beat the main enemy, Darth Vader, who serves the Emperor. 3 main characters work together to defeat the enemy and blow up the Death Star. This story has become a bit of a legend because now they are still making Star Wars movies. As for how I felt, well, I was blown away by the special effects and the intensity of the scene where Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star from his little fighter plane. It was amazing. Let's go through the points on the card. Firstly, you have to introduce the movie I'd like to tell you about. Today I'm going to talk about. If I were to choose a movie, I would always choose blah, blah, blah. What was next on the card? Do you remember? When you first saw it. Next, what happened in the story? So this student says, anyway, the story is about, and goes to tell the story with present simple here. The next one was, is it still important today? Is it still significant? And this answer says this story has become a legend because they are still making these movies. And the last one, how you felt. And the student says, as for how I felt. So the examiner would be very happy with this model because the student has some excellent vocabulary, a mix of verb tenses, and covers everything on the card. Let's just do a little bit of pronunciation work. I was blown away. It was amazing. Can you hear where I'm stressing for meaning? So stress the emotional words. It was so awful, I couldn't bear it. It was such an exciting time in my life. The scenery was spectacular. Oh, it took my breath away. You can practice those, go back and copy my speech. The next topic is a piece of music. Now, a lot of students tell me that this one bothers them. They can't think of a piece of music quickly. You have to mention when you first heard it, what it's about or what it sounds like, how it makes you feel, and why it is particularly special to you. I've got a little hint for you. Most international students love football. What do you sing? What music do you hear at the football? Here is a model. Oh, this one is difficult. I'm not that keen on music, so I've decided to choose my national anthem to talk about. I can't remember when I first heard it, because as a child you always hear this piece of music at school, on the TV, at football matches. Yeah, maybe that's when I heard it for the first time, at a football match with my father. The lyrics talk about protecting our country and not ever being ruled by another country. We use words like blood and fire to show how strong we feel in this song. It sounds really strong, and when we sing it together, it's very powerful. It makes me feel proud and strong, happy to be Turkish. Obviously, it's special to me because it's my country's song, and I have good memories of learning it at school and hearing it at important events. But mostly, it is special at a football match when our national team is playing, like when we played in the Euro. I think it was in 2008. We beat Azerbaijan 1-0. And when we sang the national anthem, oh my goodness, I can't describe the feeling in my heart. It was very special. What a great model. Go back and try to speak with me. Just get to feel the rhythm of the English language as well. Now, this was an excellent model because of the vocabulary, and I've chosen some here, the linking, and I wrote them here, and the grammar features. We don't have time to go through each one. These video lessons are not here to teach you grammar, just to show you good models and help you practice. So take your time and look at this table and study it and use these when you're ready. I'm sorry we've run out of time on the video, so I can't show you an object or a thing, but don't forget to practice some simple things, like sometimes an examiner will ask you, talk about an object that is special to you, or talk about something that you use every day. And sometimes these questions are hard because they're just the routine everyday things, so don't forget to practice them as well. Also, don't forget, I've got writing products to help you as well. See you soon.